Yeah.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Let's go!
It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control.
Let's go, boys. Welcome to this week's episode of
After Party.
the After Party podcast, baby.
You don't wanna play me. I am control.
And the reason we're playing this hectic walkout, two legends share it, Triple H and also our new guest.
Jake the Celtic Kid Matthews.
That's it. Jake Matthews, the big man from the UFC. And for those that don't fucking know, absolute legendary Aussie fighter. I've been watching him now for fucking God, like since school, basically.
Early high school.
Bro, that's the thing. Like, get around this guy for so long. And for those that don't know, like, he was in the UFC since 19 years old. He's 28 now, so he's coming into his prime. He's had the trials and tribulations of any fighter coming up through the ranks, but he's had it rougher, some would say, just due to coming into it so young. But fuck, he's handled it well, and now we're watching him enter into the top 15, which is going to be so fucking hectic to see for Aussie fighters.
Especially after that big knockout.
Big knockout.
Fialho.
Oh, yeah. So Andrew Fialho, absolutely smoked him. You'll get the fucking highlights. We'll put him up all over Instagram and shit, but fuck, it was out of control. But it really put him on the map, as he said.
Yeah.
Like, he was already on the fucking map, let's be real. But I mean, as in, like, it was this one performance that really gave him a lot of recognition, especially for his boxing, which is so fucking good. But God, I am so off myself as per usual, because the fucking podcast game, the podcast gods treat me rough. The amount of fucking pods that I've fucked up over the years where I've like had camera fuck up. There's always something, dude. There's always something, and this has been.
And this one was no different.
Oh, dude. No, this was the worst. Everything fucked up, from the microphones to the camera to all of it, but that's fucking how it goes sometimes. We still get a dope interview out of it, but yeah, if there are a little bit of chopping and changing with the questions and everything like that, don't worry. It's just because of our fuck ups. It's definitely not Jake's fault.
Yeah, next time we get him on, it'll be in person. And,
that's what we're saying to him.
We'll get to real nitty gritty stuff.
Yeah, we will take him up on that offer. We've either got to get him at the Caco in Brizzy, or we'll fly to Adelaide, I think, where he's situated, and get something sorted with him there. But fuck, we just wanted to give a little intro to this one, just so you boys are ready for what we've got in store. But yeah, absolute cracker interview. Talks through coming up through the UFC, his obvious recent fight. He's trained with absolute killers such as fucking Diego Sanchez, who he inevitably fought, Johnny Jones. Like, you name a fucking bloke on the roster, Jake has fucking had something to do with, and he's got some great stories from it. So, boys, fucking get around the pod with thank you so much. The last couple of weeks have been crazy. The fighters getting around us, especially having Isaac Hardman on last week. Now we're going bigger and better with the UFC. Actually, I shouldn't say bigger and better, because Isaac will fucking come down and hunt me down and kill me. But, mate, hopefully he gets there soon as well. But anywho, fucking get straight into the pod. Rip into this one, boys. Get around Jake. Follow all his shit. His new business is starting up, so that's at the end of the potty. Check that all out. But, boys, get the fuck around us. Get the fuck around Jake, the Celtic Kid Matthews, and get into the pod.
Let's blow this one up.
This episode of the After Party podcast was brought to you by our proud sponsors, the Lad Collective. Now, Jake, the Lad Collective, it's two blokes, actually. They're my two best mates. They're brothers. They're fucking idiots. But they've somehow managed to run a business together, and it is selling sheets to blokes. And I'm not sure if you've seen it before, but basically how they do it, right? They've got bottom left, bottom right, top left, top right tags on the sheets. So they actually like help you get them all in. They've got zip-up pillowcases, the whole kit and caboodle. And what's the sheet situation for you like at the moment? Is the missus taking control of that, or do you reckon you could use a bit of help there?
I'm not allowed to fold anything in the house.
Oh, mate.
I can't fold for shit. I reckon, like, it's an awesome idea, but I reckon if they had 30 tags on that thing, I still would fucking struggle.
Oh, mate, I'm telling you, a fucking monkey could fucking use these sheets, mate. So we'll have to hook you up with a pair and you're going to have to surprise the misso. Come home one day early from
Clean
training,
sheets.
have them all there, and she's going to go, what the fuck? And it's going to be brilliant, I'm telling you. But the fans as well, if you get around Jake, get around us, go buy yourself a pair of them. You get $20 off your first order. Use the code AFP20 at checkout. Back to the pod. Yeah, that's it. Well, we may as well just get straight into it and see how we go. Yeah. So, thank you again. And yeah, we're recording. We're good to go. So, welcome to the After Party podcast. My name's Connor. I'm joined by my co-host Max. And today we have a very special guest, Aussie icon in the octagon, Jake, the Celtic kid, Matthews. How you going, brother?
I'm good, guys. How you going?
Mate, we're good. We're good. It's Friday Arvo. Knocked off work. We're at the Caxton Hotel pub. Chucking back a couple of beers, and mate, it doesn't get much better. We've got
Chatting to a UFC.
mate, exactly.
Yeah, fucking
That's it. So, mate, congratulations first of all. You had an absolute cracker fight recently against Andre there, clean knockout, and man, it was good to see. Like we've been following you for ages now, and it was just like awesome to see like a fucking definitive great result from you there. I understand you had like a bit of a fucking like cock around of a year leading up to it where there was like 4 fights cancelled or something like that prior to this one. So how good was it just to get that dub and in the fashion you did it as well?
Yeah, it was funny the 12 months before. Yeah, fuck, like 4 fights fell through, including the one where it was the morning of the fight. The fight got cancelled. So I was in Vegas. We made weight. Yeah. And then I mean before that it was probably another 6 months before that when I fought Sean Brady. So it was a while. But man, I honestly my whole mindset had changed to that 12 months. Now I think like everything happens for a reason. Yeah, I mean even like it's like something was holding me back until I had not learned my lesson, but until I had sorted myself out in training and did what we needed to do. And then it's like, okay, now you're ready. Now you can go on and do what you have to do. So it was really weird the way the universe works. And, even like, I mean, now if I was to fight, can't remember his name, the guy I was going to fight in December, the one that got cancelled. So if I was to fight in December, if I was to fight that day, I guarantee you, even though you had like 2 fights in UFC, I would have lost that fight.
Really? Why do you say that?
And I'm happy to be honest about it. Just was not happy in training. Didn't want to fight. Just nothing felt right. You know what I mean? It felt like everything was rushed. Due to COVID, we're trying to force this fight, and the UFC pretty much said, we're sorry, but this is all that we have for you. It's a guy who's had 2 fights in the UFC.
Fucking dish liquor.
Either take it or not take it. Yeah. So everything, nothing felt right. You know what I mean? And I hadn't been happy in training for a long time, and that leads into not being happy during the fight week and then not enjoying the fight. Honestly, I just wanted to win or lose for the last 4 fights. I just wanted to win or lose, just get in there, get it done, and get home.
Yeah.
Until the last fight, where I enjoyed the entire training camp, had a ball. Fight week felt like we're on holiday pretty much. And then even the fight, I just loved every minute of it. And we finally. And it all come down to our preparation, and we can get to that. We can get to that after, but it all came down to the preparation, what we did, and what we implemented in training, that allowed me just to enjoy it so much, and it led into the fight. And finally, after fucking everyone says it's hard to translate what you do in training to the fight.
Yeah.
It is true, and it took me like what. I'm 28 now, since I was 16. So it's taken me that long 12 years to figure out like how to do what I do in training in the fight. But because I think it's all come down to timing. Yeah,
because I heard you talk about like after this one, you were like, fuck, like we've kind of implemented the boxing back into all of it. You said that was the way you sort of fought when you were younger, and you kind of lost it like along the way you were mentioning. But I wonder, like, just from like, I'm sure you have the answer, but like the average fucking fan watching, like, how do you sort of like lose that sort of boxing mentality if that is your strong game coming up? Is it just wrestling, like going against like grapplers and having to get like a full game and kind of neglect the boxing a little bit till everything else comes up, or?
It's not even just the boxing specifically. It's just how I used to fight when I was younger.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, I don't know. You'd have to be something special to avoid doing this, but a lot of fighters do it, and a lot of fighters will agree with me that we fight a certain way to get to the UFC. Maybe it's the lack of pressure. You know, you're getting paid probably not even getting paid your week's wage.
Yeah.
To fight. You know what I mean, there's not as much pressure. There's not as much on the line. So I guess you sort of let loose in there, and you do what you have to do to get to the UFC. Then you get a UFC contract, and now the pressure starts coming. You know, maybe it's your sole income. You got a family. You got to put food on the table. Maybe you've quit your job to put everything into this now.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, that pressure mounts up, and then you start restricting yourself. You start becoming safe, and you stop doing what got you to the UFC. And whatever that was before is what helped you win fights. It's what helped you get noticed by the UFC. And then and as you start winning more fights, I've been in the UFC 16 fights now, and so the pay progresses as you have more fights. So it's almost like as you have more fights, there's more on the line. You know, it's literally either I get paid this much or I get paid double if I win.
Yeah.
So maybe it was all that pressure. Yeah. Nothing I consciously thought about, but obviously that stuff adds up, and you start playing it safe. And then, man, I just had a good 4 or 5 fight stint where I said, I finally put my foot down and said, I would rather fight the way that I enjoy, the way that I know I can fight and lose, than keep fighting the way that I'm fighting. And there's a lot of outside influence, restricting my style, limiting my arsenal. And we finally put our foot down for the last one and said, I'm a boxer. I stand like a boxer. If I want to do jumping shit and spinning shit, jump for chokes, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. So we sort of loosen the reins up a little bit. I'm not running my own show by any means, but I've had enough fights where I know how I need to fight. I know what I need to do, and that's pretty much all we did. And also a big regression back to how I was when I was younger. I watched a lot of, instead of watching tapes on Andre, I was watching tapes myself when I was younger.
Yeah, just trying to tap into the psycho.
Yeah, I've probably watched him 100 times before, and every time I watch him, I'm still shocked. I'm like, this kid was just a fucking animal. Like, just literally, I didn't know who. Like, I would go in against a champion jiu-jitsu fighter, and I wouldn't know, and I'd just jump for his legs and try and take him down. It's like all I cared about was what I was doing in there. I didn't care what you were good at. I'm going to be better at you. And you need that cockiness. So I brought that back with also that maturity now as well. So there's a bit of a balance. But that was pretty much it. That's what led to me being able to perform the way I did.
Yeah, that's really good. Like, obviously coming like, you refresh, like you're thinking like a kid again and stuff, you're loose. Like, obviously that's just good at the end of the day, because I know, like, you've heard like Robert Whittaker and stuff talk about it, where they go through those slumps, and for you to like have all that kind of willingness to just go like, I'm just going to go for it in every fight and, do it your way instead of holding back that little bit. Obviously you're enjoying it more, which is actually going to end up like benefiting your game in the long run, like knowing your style and what you want to do. Obviously you got your coaches there and stuff, but if you're like confident in yourself, obviously it's going to push you further as well.
Absolutely. You have to, this is not sitting in an office on a computer. This is not, driving trucks. This is something you have to enjoy to be able to do it. You could get, like, I got away with it for a little while, like not absolutely hating the sport, but just, still love training. When we got close to the fights, started to not like it as much, because I knew it was coming. I knew the restrictions on the game plans were coming. I knew, fight week was just gonna, just be shit, not enjoy it. And the fight itself, like, do I just do what I know I can do, potentially stuff up, lose the fight, get yelled at by coaches? That was the stuff that was going through my head. And eventually I just sort of bit the bullet and said, after the Sean Brady fight, and I really didn't even have to push the point. My coaches all saw it too, and they all agreed and said, nah, like, let's change things up, for better or for worse, let's do that and see how it works out.
Yeah, it's because like even like I play footy myself, and I completely fucking understand where you like go through slumps and you're just like, fuck, I kind of don't want to be here right now. From a fighting perspective, like I think personally, like from a rugby thing, it was just like the sheer length, just doing it from like a young kid all the way up as an adult. And you've got all these other like fucking adult shit now you got to worry about as well. It's not just going to training, packed lunches, heading off to school. But one thing I was going to ask was like, how was it like entering the UFC? Because as you said, you've been there for a minute now and you were so young entering into the UFC. Did you find like, was there any points throughout that you were like, oh shit, like maybe we did jump into the big leagues too early? Or do you think it's only been a benefit since? Because you sometimes see guys like Sage Northcutt, for instance, who like entered in probably similar time around you, and that obviously didn't like kind of pan out in his favor, kind of got gassed up a little bit too much, maybe in his youth. Do you think it's benefits being there from a young age, or?
I think I was definitely ready.
Yeah.
I won my first two fights. I lost one, won another two. So I was definitely competitive in the UFC. So it never hurts to wait.
Yeah.
I did have that fear of like missing out on something, not getting in young. But man, the person who spoke to me about that was Joe Silva. I don't know if you guys even remember Joe Silva. He was yeah. So he was awesome, man. Like I fought on tough, and I didn't win. Then I got an email saying, "Look, you're not going to be on the finale." They put other fight, like they might put a few other fighters in the finale. They said, "Oh, you're not going to be on the finale." And I emailed back and I said, "I'll do anything. Like, just tell me what I got to do." So Joe Silva actually called me. He called me. I was training at Greg Jackson's, living in Albuquerque at the time. And he calls me and he goes, "First of all, if you're a heavyweight, I'd put you in the top 10 straight away because they're all trash." And then he said, "Look," he said, "you're young, he said, we could put you in the UFC now." He said, "You might win a few, you might lose a few, you get cut." He said, "Once you get cut," he said, "good luck getting back in."
Yeah.
He said, "Go away, have one, two more fights, and then get a little bit more experience. And all we want out of you is a little bit more experience, and then we'll put you in." And that sort of resonated with me. I understood where he was coming from. So I come back to Australia. There was a guy who was calling me out before the Ultimate Fighter, and he was a middleweight actually. So I said, fuck it, I'll go bash this guy up a middleweight. So upper weight.
Were you lightweight at the time, or just sort of floating between welter and?
Nah, I was between welter and lightweight.
Yeah.
So I'd always weigh in like 2 kilos under for welterweight.
Yeah. So middleweight's a bit of a jump.
Then, yeah. So we just fought middleweight. I was eating like pies before weighing and shit, and then I won that fight, and then me and oh, there you go.
A bit of fucking technical difficulties over here. Oh well, it'll be sweet. That's what you get with a bootleg shithouse podcast.
Nah, that's right. So me and Dan Hooker were the main event. We're gonna fight each other in Melbourne. I don't know if a lot of people know this.
Oh, hectic.
But me and Dan Hooker, I was 18-year-old kid.
How far into the UFC was Dan at this point?
No, this was outside the UFC.
Oh, hectic.
So this was so I had that. I got out of tough. I had that one fight at heavyweight, middleweight.
Oh, gotcha.
And then and then me and Dan were paired up to fight just in a fucking basketball court on a local. Yeah. So we were like 2 weeks out of fighting, and then the promoter messaged me and said, "Oh, look, Dan can't fight. He's just been offered a UFC contract." And I said, "Oh, well, that's okay, because so did I." So then we both fought in Auckland and had our debuts together. So so we were actually otherwise we would have had a scrap.
On a fucking basketball court.
So but no. So get back. Instead of going down the fucking rabbit hole, get back to your question. I felt like we got in the right time. The only downfall is not even to do with performance. It's people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you've been in the UFC for like 8-9 years and you haven't won a belt yet. You must be shit." And it's like, well, no. You look at they're comparing me to guys like Conor McGregor, Israel Adesanya. These guys, obviously, they're older when they get in the UFC, late 20s.
Definitely.
They're already established world champions outside of the UFC. So they've hit that time in their career where they're like, let's make a run. So they might get in the UFC within 5-6 fights. They might be fighting for a title. I got in the UFC when I was 19, so I got to learn on the job.
Yeah.
Which is that's the downfall is you got to trial and error while you're trying to stay in the top promotion, fighting against the best fighters in the world. you know, and now I'm at that age where those guys were. Now I've just hit that stride where I'm like, fuck, I can take this as far as I can now. I'm at that age. I've just obviously with the last performance, I know what I need to do in training. And yeah, I'm ready to start getting in the top 15 and working towards the top. So the only downfall is that perception from the outside where it's like, oh, you're just a journeyman. It's like, no, not really, because I literally had to learn on the job
From
Yeah.
and
so
grow
fucking
up in the
young.
UFC.
And the people
Yeah,
saying
line one
that,
of the
like, who are
staff.
they to?
They're fucking
Yeah,
casuals.
who are they to say?
We're the ones
Oh,
fucking
they're-
watching
they're-
9 hours of UFC every Sunday. We know that's not the case.
sitting on mum's couch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's that's the only downfall to it. I think if you feel like you're ready and you want to give it a crack, I mean, youth has its place. It's an advantage in some situations. Obviously you could see the fights where I'd win a bunch of fights against the lower tier guys, and then I get bumped up. Like me. So the first one was me and James Vick. Winner of that would have gone top 15. I lost. The next one was against Kevin Lee. Winner of that was going to go top 15. I lost. And the next one was against pretty much all the losses I had were, so I'd have a string of wins. I'd have like that gatekeeper fight where it's like one of you are going to go to the top 15.
Yeah, it's just fucking
and they're the ones that I
right
kept
there.
losing. So obviously, yeah, you can see literally that point where I'm hitting that ceiling of my
Yeah.
potential at that time, which is actually interesting to see. So, and obviously now I can obviously break through that seal and get into the top 15.
Yeah, fucking oath. And bro, you mentioned before that you were like training out of Albuquerque for a little bit there. Obviously, famous gym there. Obviously, great fighters: John Jones, Holly Holm, Diego Sanchez, and that's the one that I'm most interested about because I was wondering, like, training with him. First of all, give us the perspective of just, for one, just being a young Aussie in a gym with just these fucking absolute killers who I'm sure you looked up to at the time. But also, like, what was it like fucking training with Diego, then inevitably ending up in the octagon with him?
Yeah, firstly, my time in the States with those guys, like I got some stories.
Really?
I've got some fucking stories.
Oh, mate, well,
That's
it's
for
fucking
I
after
have to come up
party.
in
We've got a
person.
couple
I have to come up
stories
in
and all float
person.
around.
Yeah, I have to come up in person to you boys for those ones.
Yeah, 100. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I swear to God, when I retire from the UFC, I'm coming out with a tell-all book, and I'm putting everyone under the bus, and I'm making money. I've got stories, but anyway, yeah, no, going to Albuquerque was good. Got out of the Ultimate Fighter. I went home for Christmas, and Kyle Noak was our coach, and he lived in Albuquerque, and he said, "Hey, like, man, best thing you can do, get out here, get amongst the UFC guys. There's always UFC brass coming into Jackson's gym." He said it'd be good for them to see you there. So I said, yeah, sweet. So first of all, I went to Chicago. Chicago is one of my main spots that I went to in America to train. Every time I'd go there, I'd go to Chicago with Izzy Style. So Izzy Style is Yair Rodriguez's wrestling coach, John Jones' wrestling coach, one of the most successful wrestling coaches in terms of like the high school scene in America.
Yep.
So I'd go to Chicago and train with them. Live with Yair Rodriguez in a basement. Then from there went down to Albuquerque. Cheeto Vera, Brandon Marino living in like back room. Yeah, living. I'm 18. They're both living in a back room in Greg Jackson's gym, eating off camp cookers. And
fuck this,
and
man, bro.
Yair was
You've
there.
like been there since you've seen like everyone's fucking come up, dude. It's insane.
But it's yeah, man. Me and Yair Rodriguez, me and Cheeto Vera were like this. We were like best mates.
Cheeto
And if we see
seems
each
like a
other
good
today,
guy.
we're still, man, he's the best guy. But yeah, like we were all there. Like I was 18. They're living in a back room, eating off like camp stoves. And now look where we all are now. It's pretty cool. But
insane, dude.
Crazy.
yeah, it was good for me. I've never been a fan. I've never been a fan or a follower of anyone. I always considered them, even when I was fighting in Melbourne, in Australia, locally. I always considered these guys my peers, my colleagues, because I always knew I was going to be there. So I wasn't starstruck by any means. First thing I noticed, the high altitude was hard. Then it was just the quantity of fighters and bodies to train with.
Yeah.
Like I got I was rolling jiu-jitsu with Tim Kennedy, sparring with Diego, sparring with Donald Cerrone, Diego's telling me I hit like his grandma and shit. And he's doing cartwheels.
Neck
I
minute.
took Donald Cerrone down. Yeah, I took Donald Cerrone down. And then he stands back up and looks me in the eye and just leg kicked me about 40 times. And then I had about 3 days off because I couldn't walk. And then like Clay Guida, me and Clay Guida, like best mates. He'd come pick me up, take me for lunch. We'd be driving down some road. He sees like a big hill he wants to climb, so he just pulls over and he's like, "Let's go run this hill."
Yeah, he seems like a
Same,
nutter. Yeah.
And then it was just good, man. It's just good bodies. Obviously, like the level I was. So the thing I noticed that everyone says, "Oh, we've got to go to America, we've got to go to America." It's good in that respect, the amount of people to train with. But you're just a number. You literally get no attention from the coaches. And I guess that's like it's within reason, you know what I mean? Like you got to make a name for yourself. But the tuition I got in Australia, the one-on-one attention I got in Australia far outweighed having those bodies to move with. And I think people have realized that, you've got Alex Volkanovski, Rob Whitaker, myself, like we've made great long prosperous careers training in Australia.
Yep.
Let's say Australia and New Zealand, because we're pretty close.
Yeah.
We've got everything we need here now. We've got Izzy's the champ, Volk's the champ. Ty's probably going to become the champ. Kai's probably going to become the champ. That's like 4 champs within the region.
And we got Jimmy
That's
Crew
insane.
coming up in the mix as well.
You got Jimmy, you got Josh Coolabauer, Jamie Malaki. Like it's
fucking insane right now.
It's been really coming up in the past like 5-10 years, like picking up in Australia. Like, do you think like we're just getting more recognition because of the skill of our fighters? Like, obviously, like as you were saying, going over, you're just kind of a number there. But now it's picking up, and we can show that what we can do. Like, we're just going to have more and more kind of coming in.
I think you're going to see. I know. There's a few things in the pipeline that we're trying to get going, but we're going to see fighters from like all the Asia Pacific region. They're going to be coming to Australia to train.
Yeah, hectic.
So like we all go meet, like the people go meet in Thailand or going to go to America. It's like people from this region that want the best training. They're going to start coming to Australia. They're going to start. Hopefully we start seeing the growth of these. We don't have any yet, but these like super gyms. At the moment in Australia, I travel to about 4 or 5 different gyms to seek out the best training in each discipline. So in America, you'll have it all under one roof. So we don't necessarily have that yet.
Yeah.
But once we do, you're going to see a big influx of international people coming to train with us. I'm surprised it's not there yet already, because we've had, Rob was a champ. We've got these such high top level guys, and they're solely training out of Australia.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, and then we got we got Kai fighting this weekend, like, and then there's, City Kickboxing, that's like come blowing up a bit. Obviously you got like Bam Bam and stuff. Yeah, it just seems like a lot of like, hopefully in, in the next 5-10 years, we can get some more UFCs down here. We went to the one in Melbourne, which was insane, like biggest crowds, and still they're kind of pushing for obviously overseas a lot more. And if they bring it down here, I feel like they could get a lot of like big following and get massive crowds out, bring a lot more people to the sport.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I think you can almost. No, you're right. You're right. I think within the region, if they wanted to bring more cards, there's plenty of fighters in like, the Asia region that they could bring over to pit against the Aussie fighters. I think it's just such a long stretch for them to get cards down here, to get willing opponents. Like I've had like I've tried to call out like opponents to come over to Australia, and they're just like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going there unless they have like some good incentive to come. And I'm obviously always trying to climb the ladder. So these guys are looking at me like, you're the lower ranked guy. I'm not coming to Australia to fight you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully it picks up, and Izzy talks about how the New Zealand guys don't really get the respect they deserve from the government and the support. I think in Australia it's a little bit better in Australia, yeah, but man, the support is shit. If you compare it to other sports, the support is shit. Like there's no funding. Almost every sport gets funding from the government. Like wrestling gets no funding. All these guys got to pay for themselves to go travel and compete. You know, in terms of MMA, you know, there should be. It's big enough now where they should be helping us out. Even not the professional guys, even at the amateur level. Amateur MMA is getting massive. Like you got like the world championships for MMA. You got all these like associations for amateur MMA that are kicking off, and the support's just not there to help them out.
Yeah, it's wild because like I wonder with like the whole Aussie thing, because I think like the fans are obviously there. We hold the two biggest bike fights ever with Rousey, and then obviously the one that you were on with Adesanya and Whitaker. I wonder if it's like the fans are like
I was on both
there,
of them actually.
but I wonder if basically the fucking Warriors like the Australian government. I wonder if it's like the brutality of the sport or anything like that. Because like Rob Whitaker, he's fucking when he was the champion, even Volk now, like he's the fucking champion of the world. So hectic, but like we don't see him on ads. We don't really see him on these like big company names and all that sort of stuff where like footy players and all that get that every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I wonder if like, yeah, that is the case. It's just they don't respect it due to the brutality in Australia.
I mean, it's far beyond that. But honestly, like people that are hanging on to that, like 'cause I was in the UFC. I was in the UFC when the cage was illegal here, and I was actually part of. You know, I was like a 19-year-old kid. The UFC brass would email and say, "Hey, we're coming to Melbourne. You're going to come to a meeting with like politicians with us and sit down just so they could show like." So you'd have like me, like this 19-year-old fucking Justin Bieber looking clean cut kid.
Yeah.
Then you've got and then next to me you've got Dan Kelly who's got 2 kids, you know, business owner. So it was to show them, you know, we don't just fight and then get locked in a cupboard until the next fight. We're actually normal blokes. We've got kids, families. Some of us still work normal jobs. And I think the perception around that has changed a lot. There's still these fucking cucks that just hold on to that. Oh, it's
fucking
brutal.
earth, yeah.
It's cage fighting. It's a legitimate sport. And in America, I mean, you got like we get given clothes from the Rock and Under Armour. So like Dwayne Johnson. So it's like the sport has the backing of these kinds of people.
Fucking
It's a
star in the
legitimate sport
world
now. Yeah, these people are just in denial, and I think you just get those people that just can't eat their own words and be humble and admit that they were wrong. So, and unfortunately for us, a lot of those people are the ones that are sitting at the top in government.
Yeah.
So once sort of that they get pushed out, and the sport continues to grow because it'll still grow massively. I think in Australia, it's not even 50% of what it can be.
Yeah,
I don't see big billboards. I don't see any marketing for kids martial arts on TV. It's just where it should be.
Exactly, definitely. Well, man, well, I guess we should get back to what we talked about before, Diego. Yeah. So what was it like? Obviously, you trained against him. It would have been like, you got some stories there, but I guess when you ended up facing him in the octagon, like that was like a big name for you at the time, obviously, and you'd already trained with him. Was there any did you take kind of training with him as preparation for the fight, or do you kind of have to just cancel that shit out and just look at him as like anyone?
Nah, I mean, so when I fought him, so from the time that I sparred with him to the time I fought him was eight years apart. So neither of us are going to be the same fighter.
Yeah.
I actually towed him up in sparring when I was 18, believe it or not. No one believes me. No one believes me. He only got me down the last 30 seconds of the round, and he felt like a fucking sumo wrestler on top of me. His pressure on the ground was ridiculous. And so I didn't even think about that sparring session for the fight. But man, it was the first time I've ever been nervous for a fight.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I don't get nervous for fights. I don't know. It might be because I've got something wrong mentally in my brain. Like I should be getting nervous, but I don't. The only thing I get is like anxious, and it's not even a bad anxiety. It's just everything's waiting. It's like you've got a 8-10 week training camp, sit around waiting. Fight week is just sitting around waiting. And then you got to wait like 3-4 hours before the fight at the venue. It just, I don't know. I just have this primal thing where I just want to hurry up and just fight. Like I just want to fight. I just want to have one over the bloke. Like that's the only, literally that's like my main goal in the fight is I just want to beat the bloke up and show that I'm better. Like I have it over you now. You know what I mean? But for
Especially
that
someone you
fight,
trained with.
yeah. But for that fight, I was just nervous. It was it's like I had to get that name off my list, and I put a bit of pressure on myself. It's like however I have to win, I'm going to win. I'm going to get Diego's name on my list, mark it off, and then that's it. Like I said after the interview, like the interview after the fight, I said I was 11 years old when we were sitting in the lounge with my family. I got the box set for the Ultimate Fighter when I was 11 for Christmas. And so I was 11 years old when I watched him win the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah,
that's
that's fucking
insane.
insane. Like, come
And
full circle.
he was a black belt. Yeah, he was a black belt in jiu-jitsu back then. And people come, that people will comment on the fight and say, "Oh, you could have finished him in that last round." And I was like, "Oh, like maybe," but once you feel him on the ground, he's honestly even towards the end of his career, if he had started taking fights to the ground, he still would have won every fight that he had.
Yeah,
He
right.
felt so dangerous and so fast on the ground. And for people who aren't trained, they understand the hip movement he's had alone, just that hip movement he had. I
Yep.
could feel like I'm like, man, this guy is really dangerous on the ground. So
'Cause
that's
you're a
why I was
black
a little
belt
bit hesitant
yourself.
towards the end.
You're a black belt yourself in BJJ. Like, do you
Yep.
find like when you get to that top level that it can be a variance in that black belt like levels?
Oh, absolutely. Considering so he had his black belt 11. Well, it's more now,
Yeah,
but
yeah, fair.
when
Yeah,
we
yeah,
fought,
yeah,
he got his black belt 11. So he's got like 11 years on top of me. So however long it takes to get your black belt, he had that on top of me again. So I definitely had that in the back of my mind. But yeah, it was just it was good to be able to fight. It was surreal to fight someone that I watched when I was that age. And to see him out too. I was his last UFC fight, so to be able to see him out was it was good. It was cool.
Oh, and get the fucking dub as well. How good.
That's the
Bro,
one.
thinking was like, it also must have been wild, like as a young bloke, obviously dealing with like the business of the UFC and all that. And I'm sure you would have had like some run-ins with like Dana White and all that. How, like, do you have any like funny or like weird experiences with Dana early on in the days and like your relationship growing with him?
Nah, not really. Nah, all my issues with in terms of business with MMA is with fucking managers.
Yeah.
Um, just dogs. Sorry, but
Oh, mate, no. Trust us.
yeah, like I'm sure you can imagine. Yeah.
I've had sports agents. It's
But
been
no, with the
interesting.
UFC, so okay, people do find this funny. So my first fight in the UFC, right? So I mean, fight week. So you got to be here at this time. Wear this, do this. It's like clockwork. Like they're on you.
Yep.
They're on you 24/7. Especially on fight day, you have your fight, won the fight. So I walk out the back, and then quick check by the doctors, and they're like, "All right, cool, good job." And I was like, "Oh, so what happens now?" And they're like, just go, just leave."
Yep.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, "What about the next fight?" They're like, "Oh, if you want to fight, send an email. If you don't want to fight, don't send an email." And it was
Yeah,
literally
what?
like,
That would actually
as
go
soon as the
behind.
fight's done, it's like they don't want to know you.
Yeah,
Um,
fuck. And do you reckon that's
yeah,
just because
even the
more
last
fighters
fight.
now?
No, it's just how they've been. Like,
Just running it
I guess
different.
once you've done your bit, and then like, I mean, after it, you're not their responsibility after the fight. Like even in Singapore, we won the fight. Obviously, I had a fair few media obligations to do because of the win. But after that, we walked out the back, and there's no all the fighters had left already mid event. They didn't even stay for the event; they all left. And I was like, "Oh, I want to stay and watch." And they're like, "Oh, okay." Like, and then by the end of it, we had to figure out how we're going to get back to the hotel because they just forgotten about us that we're still
Oh,
there.
what the
Jesus,
fuck?
wow.
That's dog shit.
Yeah, and then but then in terms of the matchmakers, like they've always like Joe Silva was awesome. I did with Sean Shelby. I get like a whole one line replies from Sean Shelby, which means he really likes me. Because usually it's like yes, no. Some fighters are like he actually writes a line for you. Fuck, he must like you.
Yeah.
We did shout in beers one night in Singapore like years ago, and he actually did say it was good that we chatted to him about something other than fighting, just general
Oh,
shit.
bro.
So I think he's always remembered that. Yeah, but even Sean, man, like if you give them an opponent, a date, and a location that you want to fight, they will entertain it. You know, as long as it's within reason. If you're a shit kicker just starting out and you say I want to fight the champ, like no.
Yeah.
But if you give them a time, sorry, a fucking time, but if you give them a date, location, opponent, and that opponent agrees, it makes their job easier.
Yeah.
So they're actually quite lenient. Like if you can give him a list of 5 names, he'll go out of his way and he'll ask those opponents, if they're keen to fight you, and he'll get back to you. So I thought it would be a lot more cutthroat. I thought it would be you're fighting this guy on this date, and that's that. If you don't want it, here's your walking papers, leave. But it's actually not. It's actually very, very lenient. I was really.
Yeah, oath. And now I guess that you're moving up the ranks, I guess like opponents are probably becoming a little bit more clear. But like, how do you kind of start that process of looking for opponents? Like when we had Hardman, for instance, like he's a fucking psycho and he's in all the other fighters' DMs and trying to like G them up to start fights and shit like that. Is there, what's your sort of like method when you guys are looking for an opponent?
I got the gist of that question, but just my headphones shit themselves. But for me, it's just I've never sought out opponents. It's always whoever you ask me to fight, I'll fight. I've always said yes, never turned a fight down, and I think that's why we just got a new contract recently from the UFC. Without going into it too much, it was a surprise to me. Another multi-fight contract, good pay increase, and I attribute that to never giving them an ounce of shit. Never overstepping, never trying to over negotiate beyond what I think I'm worth, and it pays off. You know what I mean? Because the UFC, they say that Sean Shelby will say, I've always got a place in the UFC. They'll always look after me. I've been told I'm the only fighter who sends a Merry Christmas email to all the staff. That sort of stuff does pay off. Yeah, that sort of stuff does pay off. Now though, after the last fight. Off the momentum of that last fight, I have started, kind of respectfully, like just asking people if they want to fight, calling out, I guess, calling them out. But what I'm trying to do is, I don't want to have that last performance and then go and fight like some wet blanket wrestler who's going to hump my leg for 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I want to keep showcasing the striking. So, and luckily, the top 15 in the in the welterweight division, pretty much from number 15 down to 7, they're all like strikers.
Yep.
So
Brilliant.
I pretty much work my way through that list. And that's my mindset now is at least the next 2 fights, I want good strikers. I want to give them a hiding, get some good knockouts. And then once you get higher in the ranks, if you have to fight one of those wrestling types, then I have to, that's fine. But yeah, I'd like to keep that momentum going and have good striking bouts and keep showcasing my striking. And I see that can benefit down the track. Whenever the day comes that apart from the UFC, I'll have that, and I already do have that. A lot of people are saying, one of the best pure boxing performances that they've seen in the UFC. So I have that sort of stigma now. Yeah, so whenever the day comes where I part with the UFC, I can be like, I'm one of the best sort of pure boxers in the UFC. Let's go get one of these big contract boxing fights. So that's sort of my mindset. I'm looking ahead as well.
You'd be keen to jump in the ring from a boxing perspective as well?
I'll definitely, but before the day comes, I completely hang up my gloves in all combat sport. I would definitely have boxing fights. I was actually supposed to have my first amateur boxing fight right before I got signed to the UFC. So I was just about to get into it.
Yep.
And I still get some of the biggest boxing names in Melbourne. Whenever I see them at fight events, they still reckon I should, but because I've sparred their boys, I've sparred all around Melbourne, sparred all the top guys.
Yeah.
They still say, don't worry about UFC, quit UFC now and box.
Come back.
Hectic.
You should be boxing. They say you need to be boxing. So, and it's good reinforcement for me. And I've heard this my whole career, and people looked at I used to say I'm a boxer, and people look at me and be like, my last fights, they're like, how is this guy say he's a boxer? He's not a boxer.
Yeah, sure.
Now from the last fight, they can see that.
Yeah, it's fucking on paper now.
I was gonna ask you, just going back to so what would be like your dream fight, anyone alive or dead, and how are you gonna finish them?
Oh, dream fight. I mean,
Let's start with who you fucking don't
like.
like. There's got to be, you seem like the nicest bloke in the UFC. There's got to be somebody that grinds you up the wall a bit that you'd like to beat the piss out of.
There's only two guys that I dislike. One is Andre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all the stuff before the fight, all the arrogance, I understand it's hype, but that continued after the fight. Wouldn't shake my hand. Before my name was even announced, pulls the ref's hand off and walks out of the octagon. Doesn't say congratulations. Didn't shake my hand.
Oh, yeah, dog shit.
Sore loser.
Because actually, I saw you talking a
bit.
bit of shit on the gram. Actually, you're someone said something about him, and you're like, "Why have you got him in the picture? He's still snoring on the fucking octagon ground."
Yeah, bro, Kevin Lee spoke the most shit I've ever had thrown my way, and after the fight, gave me the biggest hug. And we're like, every time we see each other now, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what his issue was. I was respectful. I went up to him, after when he's still on the floor. He's still a bit out of it, but by the time my hand was getting raised, just walked off, didn't shake my hand. I hate that. That's the worst.
Yeah.
The other
No
guy would
sportsmanship.
be Li Jingliang.
So I want to get
Li Jingliang.
Li Jiang. Yep.
Yeah. So obviously, eye gouge in the fight. Initially after the fight, I was happy that I won. I was happy that we put on a good performance. So I sort of let it go, but progressively it sort of ate away at me. Once I realized, that could have been the end of my career. I could have lost that fight. I couldn't see out of that eye for about a week.
Yeah, fuck.
And then and now in that eye, like I can wear. I don't wear them, but I can wear prescription glasses. So that eye's deteriorating.
Yeah.
Who knows if that's going to be an ongoing deterioration? I don't know. But and it's not the first time. Like he's a repeat offender. That's when it started annoying me when I saw that he's a repeat offender. I was like, okay, so he fucking did.
Yeah, it's like just on his fucking end. It wasn't an accident.
Yeah. So apart from those two guys, I like everyone else. And in regards to someone I'd like to fight, I was always trying to get a fight with Carlos Condit.
Oh,
I still think that'd be a good fight. Yeah.
Is he still running around or?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It was either him and Matt Brown were sort of on par.
Oh, Matt Brown would be dope as well.
Bigger name. Yeah, just those elite strikers. Legendary name, gatekeeper. Those sort of names appeal to me. In regard, like someone else in the past. I was gonna say BJ Penn. He's more just my absolute favorite, like my idol in MMA.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily I'd like to fight him, I guess, but yeah, I'd say if I had to pick one,
share the octagon at least.
Yeah, hectic.
Yeah, bro. We'll get you out of here, but mate, when do you reckon we're gonna see you next in the octagon? We're fucking toey for it.
We're trying, man. I can't call out any more guys than I've called out.
Hectic.
It's just a matter of I mean, the matchmaker said it's just a matter of waiting for something to come up. Maybe they've got injuries or they're already matched up to fight. I'm happy to wait because I do really believe that the next step would be a top 15 opponent.
Yep.
People want to see that. They want to see me against good strikers. So we're trying. I mean, I would have liked to get in there about September. Not having anything down organized yet, I'd say more likely October.
Yeah.
But I think they're going back to Abu Dhabi in October. I love Abu Dhabi. Beautiful place to fight.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anywhere that's nice, hot and humid, easy to cut weight. I love it.
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah, that would actually help, hey.
Singapore's a breeze.
Yeah, so dope as well. Oh man, and you mentioned you wanted to chuck a plug in as well.
Yeah. So we've got so myself and a few others, we're getting together. So for those who are familiar with like BJJ Fanatics, I guess it's like a platform where they upload techniques. So something similar to that, but we're getting one going for MMA. It's not going to be what people think it is. It's a lot more than just tutorial videos. We're gonna cater for all skill levels, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna have strength coaches give like webinars. We're gonna have nutritionists give webinars on weight cutting, nutrition, even all the way to like mindset coaches as well. So talking about and also getting the fighters to talk about this stuff, what their nutrition's like.
Definitely.
Because they're the ones that have been in there, they're the ones who have done it. And also, if you get 5 fighters talk about how they deal with nerves or anxiety, all 5 will be different.
Exactly.
So it's almost like we want to create something that we call it's like the blueprint to a long, successful MMA career. Everything from recovery to training structure, pretty much across the entire board. So we're looking at we've started on this. We're looking at launching maybe in a month or 5-6 weeks time. So if anyone's keen on that, keep an eye out for that.
Oh, bro,
we're
for
looking to make it
sure.
like
Definitely.
the biggest of its kind.
And what's that called again?
So that's going to be called. So it's called Aon. So AON, which
Oh
stands
yeah,
for
that's
all or
it. We
nothing.
got you, Jakey Aon. Yeah, that's right.
So it's Aon Academy. And man, we've already got like a bunch of other UFC fighters that are keen to put in their 2 cents, whether that's doing live webinars, their own tutorials, mindset. So it's going to be literally like the best of the best fighters from this region, and then eventually from around the world, adding all their insight and their knowledge. So this is something that we've, I never had anything even close to this when I was starting out fighting.
Oh, for sure.
I think it could really put people on the right path early in their career. Instead of wondering if am I doing the right thing? Is this right to do?
Get the
Like,
exact
we'll
answer
literally
from the
tell
pros.
you exactly.
Yeah.
So that's something we've got going.
Fuck yeah, we'll share the shit out of that and make sure that pops off. We've got a bunch of MMA, a lot of amateur blokes that follow us as well, so that's perfect for them. So we'll have to get everyone in the mix there. But mate, thank you for fucking coming on today.
Really appreciate
As per usual, the most dog shit podcast in Queensland. We have technical issues every week, no matter what. But mate, we push through. We get there in the fucking end. We come through fighting home. And if you haven't already, make sure you go follow Jake on Instagram. Your main page, it's Jake Matthews UFC, is it?
It is, yes. Yeah, I got that back after being hacked, so we're all good.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I saw all that fuck around. That sucks. But yeah, make sure you're fucking following Jake. If you haven't already, go through his fucking fights. They're brilliant, especially the last one. And when he fucking enters the octagon next, get bums and seats, pay that pay-per-view, baby, and watch the fucking hands fly and hopefully seeing the other bloke drop. But mate, thanks for fucking coming on. We appreciate it so much. And again, we'll have to fucking do this one in person where it's fucking, we'll get the full studio going, or maybe we'll come down to fucking Adelaide and get amongst it as well there, mate.
Nah, 100%. Thanks for having me on, guys. And yeah, man, the sooner we can tee it up, I'll get up to Brisbane. I'll come up north and we'll do it.
Fuck yeah, brilliant, bro. All good. Peace out.